Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Julia Lundstrom, and I am so excited to share with you all of the Alzheimer's prevention and brain boosting tips I have for you today. In fact, this is the most comprehensive workshop on the subject I have ever put together. Let's get right into it. In general, we were all taught that Alzheimer's can't be prevented, but that's no longer what we're seeing. And science is showing the best path to prevent this terrible disease. So we're going to go through what this best path is today. And then we're going to give your brain and memory a tune-up. A checkup, as we all know, is when you go to see the doctor to see if you have it yet, it being some very expensive disease or illness to treat. But when's the last time you went to the doctor and they actually told you anything to do for a higher quality of life that didn't involve a prescription? So that's what we're going to do together today. We're going to go through what science is showing for Alzheimer's prevention, and we're going to give your brain a tune-up to increase your cognitive energy so that it fires faster and better. You'll walk away with an action plan on where to get started today. And when you implement your action plan after today's workshop, you're going to have neurotransmitters that are working better. Your synapses, and I'll go over what these are in the workshop, they're going to be much more efficient, and all of the chemical reactions in your brain may go back to what they were when you were in your 30s and 40s. So here's what we're going to go over in the next hour. We're going to determine your current risk for Alzheimer's. We're going to learn how to increase your stem cell growth in your hippocampus, which is the memory sector of your brain. We're going to learn how to boost a specific hormone in your brain that is the key to Alzheimer's prevention, and it will also immediately improve your current memory as well. We're going to learn how one specific diet is helping Alzheimer's patients and cancer patients by as much as 60%, and how it can help you too. And lastly, if you stay to the end, I'll show you how you can learn how to remember names and dates easily. So who am I? I'm a neuroscience and brain health educator. Through my books and newsletters, workshops, and speaking engagements, I've helped over 150,000 people make measurable improvements to their memories. My mission is to help 1 million people improve their memories measurably. Things are moving so fast. Doctors know much more today than they knew just a few years ago. And it's my pleasure to bring this new information to you in a format you can take action on. Maybe you have Alzheimer's in your family like I do. I just lost my aunt to it last December. And you want to do everything you can now to prevent that. Maybe you are already sensing your memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. Maybe you've just started having senior moments or brain fog moments in the past year or two, or maybe you're further down the path and you've got some serious memory loss. You may get confused or lose your sense of direction. If you go to a doctor with memory loss, you'll walk out the door with a prescription for a drug. There are 4 of them: Aricept, Namenda, Axalon, and Razidane. These drugs do just about nothing to help your brain function. And most doctors will tell you that that's all they have and there's nothing else they can do. And they're right, there's nothing else they can do. But there are plenty of things you can do. Doctors treat symptoms, period. They basically give you a Band-Aid for your symptoms and send you on your way. They don't get to the root cause of these symptoms most times. Even the drug companies have been totally focused on the wrong thing, on getting rid of beta amyloid plaques. That's why all the drugs have failed. You see, we recently learned that the famous beta amyloid plaques are not the cause of Alzheimer's disease. They are just a symptom. All the medical research, all the drug companies have been focused on getting rid of those plaques, but that's totally wrong. There have been hundreds of trials for Alzheimer's drugs, and they've all failed. They don't do a bit of good, and almost all of them are aimed at getting rid of these beta amyloid plaques. Amyloid is actually a protective response that, in fact, we make in response to 3 different classes of pathogens. You see, the plaques are your body's effort to protect itself from an infection or toxin or any other insult to the brain. Brain plaques are not the source of the problem. They're your brain's effort to protect the brain cells and solve the problem. Instead of focusing on removing the amyloid plaques, we should be removing the reason that they're making the amyloid in the first place. Your memory and brain don't just decline because of one thing. Usually it's multiple things that create an environment in your head which the brain is then unable to thrive. Memory loss is really a multifactorial problem, but most studies are around looking at each one of these individually. But fixing these issues takes a plan, and each plan is as unique as you are. So we're going to create your plan today together. Our goal for this workshop is to give you the knowledge to go out and make a measurable improvement in your memory in the next 30, 60, 90 days and beyond. So jumping in, we're going to start with a short quiz to determine your Alzheimer's risks. This quiz, which is always being refined, is not meant to replace a full evaluation from a doctor that includes a physical exam, blood work, imaging studies, and everything else. Instead, this assessment provides a scientific way to help you educate yourself about Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia don't just creep up on you. They're incubating for decades in the brain. This tool is potentially very useful in determining who is at risk. So our goal is really to help educate you about what some of the risk factors are and often to put people's minds at ease. So for these first 10 questions, please count the number of times you can answer yes to each question. So if you answer one yes, then you count one. So the first question is, are you 65 or older? Has your mother, father, or siblings ever been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease? Have you ever experienced any severe stressors such as divorce, death of a spouse, serious mental or physical illnesses in a close family member, or a loss of a job? Have you ever suffered a concussion or any other brain injury? Do you have Lyme disease? Do you have less than a high school education? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have high cholesterol? Do you have pre-diabetes or diabetes? Are you overweight? Okay, so now count your yeses. How many can you answer out of those 10 can you say yes? Next, I'm going to ask you 7 more questions, but this time I want you to count your no's, and we're going to add them to the yeses at the end. So this time, count your no's. Do you exercise regularly? Do you consume fruits and vegetables every day? Do you challenge your brain and learn new things all the time? Is your sleep restful? Are you able to manage stress? Do you have a rich social network? Are you a non-smoker? Great. Okay, so count how many no's you got in this section and add them with your yeses. This is your result. So let's go through what these mean. If you got 0 to 6 points, good news, you're in the green zone. You have a brain healthy lifestyle. There's always room for improvement though, so please start looking on areas where your score was not perfect. The yellow zone is if you scored 7 to 11. Your lifestyle may need a little checkup. You need to identify key weaknesses and devote a strong effort to strengthening them while maintaining brain healthy habits in other areas. And if you got 12 or above, you are in the red zone. Your brain is in need of some TLC. Your goal should be to improve your scores across the board, and this may involve some major lifestyle changes. Today, we'll go through what changes you can realistically make and which will have the biggest impact. Because damage in your brain starts decades before symptoms appear, and memory is elusive. It's very hard to measure. We need to measure your forgetfulness, which is easier said than done, I'm sure. I even had one customer joke, I forgot to measure my forgetfulness. So the first step is to measure where you're at. After this workshop, I'm going to send you a special invitation to the Cambridge University Memory Test. This is a free test you can take just by following the special link I send you and putting in your email. And after 10 to 15 minutes of going through fun memory recall exercises, you'll know exactly how your memory ranks compared to people your age. Everyone should be coming in earlier and earlier and preferably be on prevention. But if you've missed the prevention part and you've started to have some symptoms, it's certainly not too late. If you're young and healthy, you can boost your memory and cognitive ability to levels you never thought possible. You are not stuck with the brain you have, but you have to have a plan. Because if your brain's not working, you're not working. So now understand that Alzheimer's is a preventable disease, but you have to do everything you can now, today, to prevent it. After today, we are going to have a very good idea of your starting point. Of course, talk to your doctor if you have any questions about your action plan at the end of this to make sure that it's right for you. So let's jump right in. The first and best way to start to prevent Alzheimer's is to focus on growing your hippocampus. That's the memory center of your brain, and we're going to do just that by stimulating stem cell growth. There are only a few areas in your brain that can grow new stem cells, and your hippocampus is one of them. They look like two little seahorses on either side of your brain. For those of you who don't know, who are only kind of familiar with stem cells, let's talk about what they are, because when we rejuvenate stem cell growth, we can truly support and accelerate brain cell growth. First, what's all this about stem cells? Stem cells are different than all your other cells for two reasons. First, they are unspecialized cells, meaning they can become tissue or skin or eyeballs or organs or specific cells for specific reasons. Second, they can renew themselves through cell division, even sometimes after long periods of inactivity. So what does this mean for you? They can serve as an internal repair system, dividing essentially without limit to replenish other cells. It would be like having your own 24/7 brain mechanic fixing all the damaged cells in your brain whenever they need it. Stem cells can either remain a stem cell or they can become another type of cell with a more specific function, like a muscle cell or a brain cell or a memory cell. The possibilities of this are incredible. Imagine being able to regenerate a heart or a lung out of your own cells, making donors totally unnecessary. They already have a skin gun that takes a burn victim's own stem cells and is able to spray these cells onto burns to grow new skin instead of having to use skin grafts from other animals. Imagine being able to regenerate a brain and a memory after Alzheimer's. And this isn't science fiction. Clinical trials are in the works right now on all of these. I recently heard that if you don't die or get sick in the next 15 years, your lifespan will almost double. So what if there's a way to activate stem cell regeneration right now in your own body? There is, with your diet. Unfortunately, the modern diet actually does the opposite and switches off this stem cell generation and makes us vulnerable to disease and degeneration beginning in our 30s and 40s. But it can be turned back on rather easily with the right kinds of foods. If you want to live longer, healthier, you need to get better at utilizing energy in your brain and body to perform more maintenance on your body parts, to protect your current living cells and regenerate more stem cells. By the way, we're always generating stem cells. It's just a matter of generating enough to combat disease and aging because it does decline with age. And we do this through food. The right foods help us utilize that energy better and give our cells the fuel and information they need to perform the best. I'm going to lay this out in 2 steps. First, we're going to talk about a diet for life that has been repeatedly shown to give the healthiest, longest lifespans to those who eat it. And secondly, I'm going to talk about a specific diet you can do up to 6 times a year to generate stem cell growth. So let's start with a general lifestyle diet. Since the 80s, low-fat diets have been all the rage for 30 years, 40 years almost. Most people have it so ingrained in their heads not to eat fat that they still buy low-fat everything. I'm here to tell you today to stop this nasty habit. Don't buy low-fat. Don't buy sugar-free anything. Whenever they take out the fat or the sugar out of food that naturally has these, they replace it with chemicals just to give you a better taste, because things don't taste good without fat or sugar. So just don't do it. Don't buy these foods. You see, your brain is made up of 60% fat. 60%! Our bodies and brains need fat to survive and to perform at its best. We've learned in recent years that fatty acids are among the most crucial molecules that determine your brain's ability to perform. This is exactly why we created our alpha-mega DHA, which is a pharmaceutical-grade omega-3 supplement, to make sure our customers are giving their brains enough of these fatty acids. But I'm not here selling you a supplement, so let's get back to fat. I want to be very clear about fat. First of all, contrary to the new diet gurus out there that say fat can't make you fat, Fat can make you fat, easily. Fat has a ton of calories in it. So you have to watch the quantity and, much more important, the quality. The keto diet, which is about 75% of your diet coming from fat, is okay for losing weight, but I don't recommend this for long periods of time. I've done it. I lost my baby weight that way. But if you're eating a lot of fat and then combining that with a bunch of sugary foods or processed foods that are also high in calories, you're going to not only gain a lot of weight, but you're going to create this toxic environment for your brain. The signals will come to a standstill, kind of like the traffic on LA on any given day. One big handful of mixed nuts has about the same calories as 4 bananas, almost 2 avocados, or 1 McDonald's double-double. Crazy, huh? Nuts are very healthy for you. You just have to limit the quantity. And that's hard for most people. A small handful of nuts a day is all you need, but that's like eating 1 potato chip, isn't it? It takes willpower and it takes training. As for quality, this is even more important for your brain and memory. Yes, cheese and dairy have a ton of fat, but it's saturated fat, and that's not good for your brain health. Pizza is one of my favorite foods. Don't get me wrong, I still eat it every once in a while, but it's one of the worst foods you can eat for your brain health. Red meat is saturated fat. Potato chips is saturated fat. Bacon, all bad for your brain health. Now, does red meat have nutrients that are good for your brain health? Absolutely. Iron and B12, which B12 is my #1 nutrient I recommend for brain health and many more things. But high rates of saturated fats have been shown to increase your risk of getting dementia or even cardiovascular disease. What I am saying is that there are better choices, and then there are the best choices. So, what proportion of fat to carbs to protein should you be eating? I recommend that most people get 35 to 50% of their calories a day from fat for the best performing brain. Healthy fats. This is probably a lot more healthy fat than you're getting now. Healthy fats are your fatty fish, your like mackerel, salmon, they're nuts, avocados, olives, olive oil, coconut oil. While we're on the subject of coconut oil, there are studies that a tablespoon a day of concentrated coconut oil, called MCT oil, have shown to reduce the symptoms of Alzheimer's patients. Now, there aren't studies done on people without Alzheimer's, but I still recommend that my customers get a high-quality MCT oil and have a tablespoon a day. Put it on your salad dressing, on your salad as a dressing, or even try it in your coffee. When it comes to brain health, these foods give you the fuel and information to stimulate brain cell growth and survival. With that, the diet that I recommend that is an everyday diet or a lifestyle diet that science repeatedly shows help prevent cognitive decline and support your brain health is the Mediterranean diet, with the addition of a little more olive oil or coconut oil or nuts for a healthy fat boost. A 6-year study in Spain found that participants who ate a Mediterranean diet plus olive oil or 30 grams of nuts a day performed 25% better in cognitive testing than those on a low-fat diet. And this diet stimulated stem cell growth. You are what you eat. The second part of stem cell rejuvenation is one that isn't talked about very often. And I have to say again, very clearly, check with your doctor before you decide this is a road you want to take. One of the best ways to stimulate stem cell growth is to fast. Now, when I talk about fasting, most people get a gut reaction of no right away. So let me explain a little bit more and make a recommendation for you. Long-term studies on fasting have been shown to be extraordinarily effective on everything from cognitive performance, longevity, cancer. These studies will blow your mind on cancer, and early studies have shown it to be effective on Alzheimer's. Fasting doesn't have to be about going days and days with only water. In fact, one longevity doctor that is studying fasting said it took 5 years to get only a 10-day study done on fasting with only water because it was too hard for people to comply with. What they found is that you can have a food-based fast and still get the same results without the hunger. And the time frame they discovered is best is 5 days. Less and you don't see stem cell growth. More and you actually lose cognition. Makes sense as you're putting your body into kind of this state of starvation. A food-based fast, or the one I'm going to specifically talk about today, is a 5-day fasting mimicking diet, and it's incredible for your health and longevity. Here are some of the results from the clinical trials. A fasting mimicking diet helps maintain healthy levels of fasting blood glucose, cholesterol, and blood pressure, as well as C-reactive protein, triglycerides, and stem cells. It reduces excess fat while maintaining body mass. It can promote stem cell-based rejuvenation or renewal. It cleans up old and damaged tissue. You can gain focus and mental clarity. You can even enjoy softer, smoother skin, and you'll improve your cognitive energy. The results around focus and mental clarity we're seeing during, right after the fast, and up to 6 months after completing the fast. So here's how it works. In the first couple of days, your body goes into a state of ketosis, and your cells go into this ultra-protective mode. In fact, this is why fasting, along with chemotherapy, has 60% better results than chemo alone, because your cells protect themselves from the poisonous chemo, but the cancer cells don't protect themselves, so they get destroyed, not your healthy cells. Then, on days 4 and 5, you activate stem cell regeneration. This is truly remarkable. I've already told you about the fasting combined with the chemo results. The cardiovascular results and diabetes results are just as remarkable. They're working on human studies now around dementia and fasting, and they're already seeing great results, but they're not conclusive yet. The mice studies have absolutely blown researchers away, seeing 75% reduction of the pro-aging and cancer growth factor proteins with the mice that had multiple fasts. So, doing a fast 2 to 4 times a year will give you amazing benefits, even up to once a month for very specific cases. Again, please check with your doctor. So, to be clear, I've done a ton of research around this, and if you're going to fast, you need to do your own research and be smart about it. I'm here as a guide only on this one. I'm not going to give you a specific diet plan, but I can tell you where to get started. One of the top researchers into fasting and longevity and disease is Dr. Valter Longo. He's written a book called The Longevity Diet, which goes into great detail of the diet and the studies on how to do the 5-day fast mimicking diet. It is my #1 recommended book for nutrition, bar none. It does get a bit sciencey for a geeky person like me. I love that. So it may be hard for the average person, but you can skip around, and he does give you foods for the diet at the end of the book based upon your age and your weight, which is very, very important. I'll send you a link to this in an email after the workshop is over, or you can just listen to get the book, or you can just listen to it on Audible. I'm not associated with Dr. Longo, and I'm not here to sell you the book. I just really love this book. So I'm here to help you on your Alzheimer's prevention journey, and I believe fasting is a critical part of that journey. Even without the fast, you should measure your percentage of protein, fats, and carbs. You can do this with many free apps and websites online. The one I like best that I talk about so often is Chronometer. You input your foods and it gives you the micro and macro results just like that. So in summary, for your everyday Mediterranean diet, a very general guideline would be 35 to 50% fats from unsaturated fats, healthy fats, 0.36 grams of protein per body fat. Unless you're obese or over age 65, it may vary. And 25 to 35% of your diet from complex carbohydrates, mainly from vegetables, nuts, and grains. Don't worry if you don't get the specifics. I'll email them to you after the workshop if you stay to the end. So next up on our way to a brain that looks and feels 20 years younger, and a great way to help prevent Alzheimer's is to boost one specific protein. So what if I were to tell you that there is a protein in your brain that has Miracle-Gro-like properties for your memory? What if I were to tell you that stimulating growth of this protein in your brain has been shown in thousands of studies to help with everything from depression, anxiety, learning, age slowing, mental illness, traumatic brain injury, cognitive function? both short and long-term memory. In a 2007 study, German researchers found that people learned vocabulary words 20% slower when compared to people that increased their levels of this protein right before learning. What if I told you that as you get older, you make less and less of this protein, but you can easily generate more of it within a matter of minutes? What is this miracle protein that does all this? Let's come back to that. I'm just kidding, I want to do that to you. It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. It essentially fertilizes brain cells to keep them functioning and growing, as well as propelling the growth of new neurons. BDNF builds the buildings and sidewalks, roads and freeways in your brain. It also maintains these same ecosystems after they've been built. It's the cleaning crew that comes out every day to maintain the city in your brain. It improves the function of the neurons and encourages their growth. It strengthens them and protects them to live longer. The more BDNF you have in your brain, the better your brain works. You can give your car regular gas, but you won't see Formula One cars getting 87, 89, or even 93 octane levels of gas. They get high octane fuel. BDNF is the high octane fuel your brain needs, and the more it gets, the better it performs. And it is the key to your memory. BDNF is involved in the formation of different types of memories, and it's critical for maintaining long-lasting storage of information in the hippocampus, the amygdala, which is another memory center, and the insular cortex many hours after the learning occurs. BDNF may counteract the natural aging process of memory decay. It helps neurons or your brain cells survive, and it's critical for memory recall, learning, long-term memory, and short-term memory. It may even be the key to breaking down or preventing Alzheimer's altogether. Researchers at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago studied the cognitive function of 535 older men and women, some with Alzheimer's and some not, for an average of 6 years. And when they died, they autopsied their brains. The results? The amount of BDNF proteins in their brains was directly related to the documented rate of cognitive decline that they experienced in the years before they died. They found that the study participants with the most BDNF protein, the top 10% in their brains, had 50% slower cognitive decline than those with the least, the lowest 10%. Even among those with Alzheimer's disease, higher levels of BDNF were associated with less severe cognitive effects. So let's look at what else BDNF affects. Researchers have found that people with depression have low levels of BDNF. And in a postmortem study of people who committed suicide and had depression, they also found significantly decreased levels of BDNF. It may not be the cause of depression, but it certainly is a factor. And then if you look at anxiety, the National Institute of Mental Health labels anxiety a learning deficit because the brain is unable to learn to discriminate between dangerous situations and benign situations. Scientists believe that BDNF is an essential ingredient to combat anxiety. They think that it helps the brain learn to work around the fear and create positive memories, which leads us to talking about BDNF and learning. It seems that we learn slower and slower as we get older, and that may be to lower levels of this critical protein. We all joke that our kids or grandkids can use their cell phones better and faster than we can. There's even a commercial now around the first thing grandparents do when they're babysitting is hand the kids their phones to help them with it. BDNF is a mechanism for the brain to learn. It gives the brain the tools it needs to absorb the information when you're learning, to process it, remember it, and put it into context to see the big picture. To make matters worse, it's estimated that 1 in 3 people have a genetic mutation that makes BDNF levels fall much faster than average. So this really is the brain's miracle fuel. So the obvious next question is, can I get more BDNF? And the resounding answer, thankfully, is yes, and pretty darn easy too. Here, let's go through some easy ways to boost BDNF right now for the short term, and then ways to build it for the long term. First, if you're sitting down, I want you to stand up And if you're able to, I want you to quickly jump up and down 10 times. If you're in a wheelchair or you can't jump, I want you to stay seated and bend to touch your toes 10 times, or raise your hands really fast 10 times and clap them above your head. There, you just increased your BDNF. One of the best ways to increase BDNF in the short term is to exercise. Short, intense exercises like interval training is shown to be best, but do whatever you can to your ability level. A single bout of exercise increases the hippocampal BDNF. That's your memory center BDNF. However, exercise is a short-term solution, but not that short-term. After stopping exercising, Carl Coltman, a neuroscientist at UC Irvine, found that the increases of BDNF lasted a full 2 weeks after only one exercise period. And that increases in the brain function were just as good for older patients as they were for younger ones. So everyone has to exercise. And exercise is an amazing antidepressant. We have over 100 billion neurons or transistors or brain cells in our brains. You can think of each like a tree. Each of those 100 billion cells has thousands of connections. These connections can be thought of like the leaves on a tree, but a single tree with thousands of leaves. So the connections are called synapses, and they number in the trillions. At each of the connections is a chemical that tells the next neuron what to do. This chemical is called a neurotransmitter, and it transmits the information from one neuron to the next. It's kind of like having each leaf that has a chemical on it talks to the leaves of a neighboring tree, maybe telling them which way the wind is blowing so they all flow in unison. But when we interrupt these connections, malfunction happens. It's like an insect infestation in our trees. One of these neurotransmitters is called dopamine, the feel-good hormone that we also get from exercise. And that also gets released by narcotics, which is why people get addicted to them. These receptors crave more of this feeling good of dopamine. Serotonin, an antidepressant molecule, and also anandamide are neurotransmitters. Very few people have heard about anandamide. Very hard to say. Anandamide is the brain's own drug, if I might say. We have our own ability to make a chemical that makes us feel high, like a drug. Anandamide is what it's called. When we exercise, we are also releasing anandamide into our receptors, giving us that high feeling. So wouldn't you rather take a walk around the block or up a hill or through the woods or take a swim rather than take antidepressants? These same antidepressants that cost you thousands of dollars a year, they have side effects, they decrease your libido, and really are only effective in maybe 50% of the people. So get out there and exercise. What else besides exercise increases BDNF levels? How about learning something new like you're doing right now? Learning something new also gives a quick boost to your BDNF levels in the hippocampus itself, which again, your memory center. The most fun way to boost BDNF is to eat dark chocolate. I recommend eating 72 to 86% dark chocolate. The antioxidants activate the BDNF pathway. Other foods with the same good antioxidants called polyphenols that can do the same is green tea, they're blueberries, and colorful veggies. So why not just double up to be safe and have your dark chocolate with your green tea? That's what I love to do. Fasting, which we talked about earlier, is another way to boost your BDNF levels, and the effects last much longer. So let's look at the long-term solutions for boosting BDNF. The first strategy is getting better quality or less disruptive and more sleep, as well as getting more social. This one is critical, so I don't want to just gloss over this. The social component is so important. A Harvard study that spanned 80 years found the greatest predictor of happiness, health, and longevity was embracing community and having good relationships. In fact, social was 3 times as important as the next one down, which was nutrition. There are also nutrients and supplements that have been shown to increase BDNF. Proudly, I can say that all 3 main ingredients in our Mind Boost Day, rhodiola rosea and bacopa monnieri and ginkgo biloba, have clinical studies on showing their restorative properties of BDNF. I can send you the link to those as well if you want to check them out later. Omega-3 fatty acids, and specifically the DHA component of omega-3s, have been shown to increase BDNF for the long term, as well as some animal studies that have shown that zinc and magnesium have increased BDNF. Natural sunlight for 15 minutes a day is another great way to increase BDNF. Now, for some BDNF depressants, things that are going to actually lower your BDNF. For those of you that have followed me in my 9 pillars of brain health for a while now, you won't be surprised at all of these. Stress. When they say stress kills, it really does. There is no excuse for living a stressed out life. Do whatever it takes to simplify your life. Let it go. Sugar. In my Boost Your Memory coaching program, I go into specifics with sugar and the specific types of sugar that are the worst for your brain. But for this workshop, just know that sugary processed foods are memory-destroying culprits. As they say, stay on the outside edges of the grocery store and stay away from the middle processed sections. Social isolation. Yes, this is what I just said before, but it's worth repeating. Do not be a hermit. Get out there and be social. So that was a lot of information. So let's do a quick review. More BDNF good, less BDNF bad, potentially very bad. To increase your BDNF for the short term, you want to exercise, you want to learn something new, you want to eat dark chocolate. For the longer term, you want to get longer, better quality sleep, fast, get more sunshine, be more social, get the nutrients proven to boost BDNF. You want to reduce your stress and you want to reduce your sugar intake. I hope that sums it up nicely for BDNF. I still have more to go, so let's get to it. Next, I want to talk about 9 external factors in your life that may be affecting your memory and then how to fix them. Because you see, sometimes the declining memory isn't because of anything you're doing or not doing. It's a function of the environment around you. Now, some of these can't be changed, and in that case, you have to work extra hard at growing your brain and memory. And I can help you with that as well, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. So let's look at what I mean when I say the environment is affecting your memory. Well, this includes everything, doesn't it? From the air we breathe to the people we surround ourselves with, you'd be surprised to learn how many things can affect our memories. So I want to address just the top few. The first that unfortunately a lot of people can't change are medications. I will caveat this by saying that I think most people can change and get off their medications in a wide variety of instances just by changing their lifestyles and what they eat. I always encourage people to try natural remedies first, unless it is a life or death situation. But for those souls, like my brother, who had a heart attack at the young age of 44, and then a second one at 49, and he's healthy as a horse otherwise, he has to be on statins, platelet thinners, and blood thinners for the rest of his life. I empathize with those of you in these circumstances, but I encourage you to really work hard to fight the negative effects these drugs can have on your cognition and memory. It is not a losing battle, and you can fight it and win. My brother did and still is. But if you want to get back to changing, your diet can literally change your life and medications. And on that note, I have an inspiring story for you. My dad got diagnosed 10 years ago with chronic kidney disease. He never changed his diet, and to be perfectly fair, no one ever told him to. This past year, it came to head, and he went into kidney failure. At 85, and with 3 heart attacks under his belt and a pacemaker, and yes, sometimes it is hereditary, like my brother getting heart attack as well, he isn't a candidate for replacement kidneys, so he had to go on dialysis. I asked everyone from the nurses to the doctors to the kidney center staff what he should be eating or not. They gave me kind of broad strokes, like stay away from salt. No one, not one, gave me any information on how much he could have of the 3 no-nos, which is phosphorus, potassium, and salt, and what foods he could and couldn't eat. And I was frankly really shocked. So I created my own list and measurements for him after doing extensive research. I gave him a shopping list, which we put on his refrigerator, of what he could eat and what he couldn't eat or rarely eat, like once a month, and what he could eat on occasion, like once a week. And he did it without complaint. He followed that thing to a T. I don't know if I could have done it. But when it comes to life or death, I guess it's easier to choose the right foods. I stayed with him for 7 weeks during this time to take care of him. And he went from needing a wheelchair when he got out of the hospital because he was so weak. This is my son trying to push him down the street, to a walker. And then at the end of 7 weeks, he was walking on his own, back at the gym. He was putting on weight and even driving himself to dialysis. On the 5th week of dialysis, his kidney doctor ordered blood tests, and he was shocked at what he found. My dad was regaining his kidney function. The doctor had given him the next week off of dialysis, and then 2 weeks off, and then an entire month off. His kidneys were only at 6% when he was in the hospital, but now they're back to 15%. And next came the best news of all. He was able to stop dialysis altogether. They took the catheter out of his chest, and now, as long as he stays on the diet, he can swim and shower again and travel and not have to go back to work, as he called it, making the 3 trips a week to the dialysis center. Can you believe that? So let me put this into a little bit of context. From 1998 to 2007, they studied 17,890 dialysis patients. And you know how many regained enough kidney function to stop dialysis? 39. 39 people out of almost 18,000. That's less than 0.2%. And my dad was one of them. Now, his attitude and his lifestyle certainly put him at better odds of this. But we also know the diet played a giant role in his success. This further cemented my belief that most diseases and illnesses can be cured with food if caught early enough. So let's get back to some of the environmental conditions that will affect your memory. Thyroid issues. Actually, a rapidly declining memory is a red flag that something is wrong with your thyroid. Menopause. Hot flashes and insomnia contribute to memory issues, but that should subside when those go away after menopause. Medications. I already touched on this, but let's go into more detail. Many prescription drugs interfere with your memory. Anxiety medications like Xanax, Valium, and Ativan hinder your brain's ability to transfer those short-term memories that you get during the day into long-term memories or storage. Other drugs include tricyclic antidepressants, statin drugs like my brother's on, beta blockers, narcotic painkillers, incontinence drugs, sleep aids, and antihistamines such as Benadryl. Being sick. People who are sick and exposed to more germs, like the herpes simplex virus, aka cold sores, which I even have, scored 25% lower on cognitive tests than those without. Researchers concluded that past infections may contribute to cognitive impairment, perhaps due to the damage to your blood vessels. Wi-Fi. I could have a full class on the dangers of Wi-Fi for your health and for your memory, and especially for our children. Unfortunately, in this connected world we live in, it's almost impossible to get away from Wi-Fi. So here are a few tips. Shut it off at night before you go to sleep. The worst thing you can do is have your cell phone by your phone or by your head at night, bringing in those Wi-Fi signals. At least put it in airplane mode if you're going to have it there. Some functional doctors I work with have even gone so far as to eliminate Wi-Fi in their homes and offices altogether. Going back to, if you can believe it, wires. In my home, we turn off the Wi-Fi after the day is complete. That means throughout dinner and at night, there is no Wi-Fi. I may not be able to help what the rest of the world does and with my exposure to Wi-Fi, but where I spend the most time, I certainly can control it. Smoking and alcohol consumption affect memory. Of course they do, right? As far as drinking goes, 1 to 2 glasses of red wine specifically, a couple times a week, is actually good for your brain health. But if that's something you simply can't do, then I would recommend cutting it completely out of your life. Water quality. This is a big one, and I can go into details on everything from the fluoride they put in our water to metal poisoning. But at the very least, just get a Brita water filter, no matter where you live. Air pollution. New research suggests that long-term exposure to air pollution can lead to physical changes in the brain, as well as learning and memory problems and even depression. Mold. Please get your houses checked for mold. There's a huge growing body of evidence that ties mold directly to Alzheimer's and many other illnesses, including depression. I don't know about you, but that kind of list makes me want to throw up my arms and say, I give up. How can you fight all those things that you have absolutely no control over, like Wi-Fi or menopause or being sick or cold sores or air pollution? It's like the theory that everything causes cancer if you read all the media reports around it. But all is not lost, I promise. How do I know? Because there is a growing body of people that are living to 100 and beyond with sharp as a tack memories. More so than any other time in our recorded history. Some say that back in Jesus' day, people lived to 200 plus, but I'm just looking at the last 1,000 years or so. People are turning 100. They're engaged and active. They're fun-loving and passing on the lessons of their lives. And they're doing it in spite of bad air. They live through much worse air pollution than we have now. Water, really poor water quality. They grew up way before government regulations on water quality. They had poor hygiene for sure, the Depression, 2 world wars, and mold. I'm sure they grew up around tons of mold in their houses from leaky roofs and basements. Their life expectancy was 47 years old when they were born, and now they're living past 100. So what can you do, especially about the components you cannot control, like air pollution and Wi-Fi? You can do everything else you can control to continue growing your brain, adding BDNFs and stimulating stem cell growth with what you've learned today.
And by the way, if you are looking to get on the fast track to boosting your memory and getting rid of the damage that occurs in your brain and get rid of the brain fog, be sure to check out our Mind Boost Day. I consider it my secret weapon for anyone over 40 who notices their memory isn't as good as it used to be. Actually, one customer recently said, "My evaluation after taking it for several days is an overall feeling of good, what of a happy pep back in my step." But every minute you wait is more brain cells dying. According to the Alzheimer's Association, 1 out of 3 people will get Alzheimer's by the time they're 85 years old. But it doesn't have to be this way. You know, when you have a better memory, you'll feel so good about how easy it is to learn something new. When you remember more names and faces, you'll be more confident in every situation. My mom doesn't take 20 minutes to decide on a menu item anymore after taking Mind Boost Day and working on the action steps above. So here's the bottom line with Mind Boost Day. I created Mind Boost Day with my brother, Russell. When we first learned of nootropics, or smart supplements as they're known, we couldn't find a single supplement that had all the ingredients we wanted, and buying them separately was going to cost us upwards of $175 a month. Even beyond that, we couldn't find any that had the right dosages that supported the clinical trials like I talked about. We also knew that the supplement industry skimped on quality. That's when we hired a scientific team to give us exactly what we wanted: a dietary supplement that wasn't going to break the bank, had the right ingredients with the highest quality. Together, we came up with a formula that is our secret to super brain health. It's all natural and helps support your brain health, reduces the risk that you'll get dementia, and increases your memory. With my Mind Boost Day in hand, I wouldn't have to spend $175 a month on low quality supplements that weren't going to give me everything I wanted. So earlier, someone asked about stacks. So this is our stack in Mind Boost Day. We started with Bacopa monnieri. Here's why. One research study working with healthy adults aged 65 and older showed significant improvements in attention, working memory, and less anxiety and depression. More studies showed that the speed of learning, memory capacity, and increased energy levels were also greatly improved in just a 12-week period. Even more exciting is the second powerful ingredient called rhodiola rosea. Rhodiola rosea is from plants like goldenroot found in the very cold regions of the world. Researchers have found that it has a pronounced effect on mental fatigue as well as increasing overall physical ability. The strongest data came from Russia and Sweden, where they tested the fatigue of students caused by stress during final exams. Over a 20-day period, the students who took rhodiola rosea got 8.4% better grades than the students taking the placebo. And another study with night shift physicians found that taking rhodiola rosea had a clear anti-fatigue effect, in some cases as much as a 20% improvement in performance during a 24-hour shift. In addition, no negative side effects were reported in any of these cases.
We also added the active P5P form of vitamin B6.
You see, my mom recently has been in the RECODE program put on by Dr. Dale Bredesen to help her reverse the signs of dementia she's showing. She cared for her boyfriend for a very intense year when he was just riddled with cancer throughout his body, and then he finally passed. Grief is a very terrible thing for your memory. My mom was shown to have very high levels of homocysteine, and this directly affects the hippocampus. A group of experts reviewed literature evidence from the last 20 years, and they concluded that elevated plasma total homocysteine is a modifiable risk, meaning it is a risk factor for the development of cognitive decline, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease in older persons. High levels of homocysteine have been linked to memory loss and Alzheimer's disease. The active P5P form of B6 brings down those levels, said Emily Amos from the Amos Institute. We also included a proprietary blend of vitamin B12 that I talked about before and folate, not folic acid. Folic acid is a synthesized form. Folate is the natural form from food and is much more easily absorbed. It has been shown to increase cognitive function and reduce the risk and rate of brain shrinkage. A recent study from Oxford University showed that over a 2-year period, people had 53% less brain decay, and that's in just 2 years. And finally, we put vitamin D3 in our Mind Boost Day. Over 50% of people over 65 are vitamin D deficient. Receptors for vitamin D are found throughout your brain and play a critical role in making memories. A team of researchers at Tufts University in Boston analyzed vitamin D blood levels in over 1,000 people over the age of 65, and they wanted to determine its relationship to cognitive function. Out of the 1,000 people, 65% had insufficient or deficient levels of vitamin D. These people performed worse on tests of executive function, attention, and processing speed compared with those who had optimal, and that's key, optimal levels of vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency is also associated with low mood and worse cognitive performance in older adults. We even did our own small study on computer programmers. We partnered with the owner of a software maker, Zenman, out of Denver, and he already had an extensive data on each programmer's performance. After taking the Mind Boost Day, each programmer's output increased by a minimum of 5% and a maximum of 20% over just 30 days. Here's what Keith, the owner of Zenman, said about Mind Boost Day. We measure our productivity literally down to the second, just like a law firm, because we bill between $125 and $300 an hour for our time. In all honesty, moving the needle 5% productivity might mean $500,000. So every percent is pretty significant. I was very optimistic at the onset of this project that it would increase everyone's productivity. I was actually surprised that 100% of the participants that took Simple Smart Science supplements actually had an increase in productivity, 100%. That increase in productivity ranged between 5 and 20%, and there wasn't this caffeine rush like I just drank a giant Red Bull. It was something that just seemed like taking my multivitamin every day. It was part of my habit, and I didn't feel a significant change. But when you look at the numbers and the productivity, there was a significant change. With the help of this potent blend of scientifically proven memory-boosting ingredients, your brain may be able to function more effectively, clearing a path for your thoughts and fighting against the brain shrinkage. So what does this mean for you? You can repair some of the past damage, you can help improve your memory today, and you can help prevent future dementia. And of course, we used the right dosages and manufactured in facilities that follow the current good manufacturer practices set by the United States Food and Drug Administration. I know why the supplement industry skips on quality. It's very expensive, but we don't care about the money. We care about fixing people's memories. We both have been there. My brother had a heart attack just a few years ago, and the prescription drugs wreaked havoc on his memory. He's come miles from where he was not but 2 years ago. It is approved for vegetarians and it's gluten-free, even in the capsules. Mind Boost Day contains no fillers, artificial flavors, or preservatives, and there are no stimulants in it like caffeine. So let's really talk about that real quick. Everyone expects to feel something when they take something, but in reality, it's very hard to feel your memory getting better. Just like when you take calcium, you can't feel your bones getting stronger, but they are. That's why we give you tests. Just like with calcium, they can measure your bone density and make sure the calcium is working. We give you tests to make sure your Mind Boost Day is working, because if it's not, we don't want you to waste your money. But we like to say that Mind Boost Day gives you the results without the jitters. So you can help pause and even help reverse some of the effects of aging with the right ingredients at the right doses. And that's exactly what we've created with Mind Boost Day. One customer wrote this to me recently. I'm not one to resort to pill for answers. Kind of like me, they do more harm than good. I took a chance with Mind Boost for its naturalness, and I've not had one side effect. I've had no negatives whatsoever. It has all been very positive. I cannot thank you enough for the improvements I am experiencing. I am taking them for life. I do feel like you have given me a new lease on life, one to be lived to the fullest. We normally retail Mind Boost Day for $69.95 for a 1-month supply. But for those of you on this workshop who have stuck with me for the last hour or so, I know you're serious about fixing your memory. So I want to offer it to you today for only $39. You'll get a full 30-day supply of Mind Boost Day that will start to repair the damage to your memory. You'll get the tools to measure your memory success so you can see the difference in writing. Actually, my brother hates it when I do this, but if you order 4 bottles using the button below, you'll get them for only $27.30 a bottle. That's less than 91 cents a day, way less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, which is not a stable source of energy. Heck, I'll even throw in free domestic US shipping just for being on this webinar. And I'll guarantee your order. Here's my promise to you. Order with this special offer that you only get with this webinar. And if you try your full order of Mind Boost Day and your memory tests haven't improved, I'll give you 100% of your money back for up to 120 days, guaranteed.
And with every order today of Mind Boost Day, just for being in this workshop, we're going to give you our Memory Master Series program. Over 10 days, I'll take you through this video series masterclass, where I'm going to share with you some of my most powerful strategies for overcoming memory issues. In the Memory Master Series program, you'll learn completely new techniques to improving your memory today. This isn't about preventing dementia, although these techniques may help do that too. It's about being as sharp as a tack today. It's about learning what to do in those moments that you really need to remember something on the spot. What you need to do when you lost something. What to do when you can't remember a name of someone that's approaching you and you know their name. It's somewhere in there, right? The Memory Mastery Series will show you in a few fun and simple videos how to do all that and more. And you'll get printable action plans to implement each step. And if you take your Mind Boost Day and follow the Memory Master Series program, I guarantee your memory and overall health will be better 30 days from now. We normally sell this program alone for $49, but it's yours free today with your order.
You see, our mission is to help 1 million people improve their memories. And so we do everything in our power, including giving you 100% of our knowledge just to do so. Mind Boost Day is the backup cleaning crew to make sure all those roads are clean so your thoughts and memories can move fast to give you better cognition. If Mind Boost Day doesn't clear your memory fog, if it doesn't take you by the hand step by step to end those embarrassing moments of forgetfulness, or if it fails to help you be confident in your memory, then understand that you will receive a full refund, no questions asked. But we went on back order 3 times last year with this offer. And unfortunately, it takes us almost 2 months to get more inventory in. So I recommend being one of the first to order to make sure there is enough. I'll even give you a copy of our Better Sleep Report. That report digs even deeper in how to solve your problems with sleep. Usually we sell this for $37, but I want to give it to you today as well with your order just for being on this workshop. As you can see, all the risk is squarely on my shoulders. So here's how to order right now. Click on the Boost My Memory button to the right now, and then enter the coupon code MEMORY. This is going to save an additional 10% on your order today. And this is good for the next 2 hours only. So don't forget that with every order, you'll get your supply of Mind Boost Day shipped out the same business day or the next business day if after 1 Eastern Standard Time, free domestic shipping, a copy of our Better Sleep Report, a $37 value, and our Memory Mastery Series program, which totals $179 in bonuses for free when you order through this workshop today. So click on the Yes, I want to boost my memory button now. And don't forget to use the coupon code MEMORY in the next 2 hours to save 10% on your complete order today. And remember, every minute you wait is another brain cell that commits suicide and another memory forgotten. So don't wait.
Thank you so much for your time today and all your great questions. I know Kelly was kept really busy. Helping people like you is what my passion is all about. So thank you for being here.